Good morning, everyone, guys. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm Giorgio. I'm the president and co-founder of BitPoito. I think most of you know what BitPoito is. Let me introduce them. Anyway, BitPoito is a students team. We do education and research and development here at Polytechnic of Turin. We are focused on Bitcoin. We are about Bitcoin only group, and yeah, we've been working on that for 4 years. We started in 2020. Now we are more than 60 people, and we are working on many different activities. We started with this kind of events, conferences, inviting special guests, and not just special guests, but of course also. And we do courses for students, just for example, an introduction course for understand what Bitcoin is, but also courses for developers and stuff. We want to build a bridge between the university and the Bitcoin industry. So this is a clear example, because you can see Antonio here that is working on Breez. That is this company. And we have the CEO, and there's a Polytechnic students that is working actually now on Breez. So we want to do that. Basically, we want to create this bridge between the university and the industry. So we are working on open source projects, for example, Stratum V2, Vexel, and other projects. So we want to connect the students directly to the industry through the open source, the FOSS, the free open source software development, but also with companies. So we have a lot of partnership with, for example, Bitbox. For example, Fulgur Ventures, that is a venture capital that finance us to do also this kind of activities. And we, of course, cooperate with other companies like Breez and etc. As I mentioned today, so just call to action. If you want to join us, please ask us also after the conference, or look on Telegram for t.me/bitpolito, and you can find our forum and ask for everything you want. And sorry? Oh yeah, or our website, bitpolito.it. Okay, so it was the call to action. If you want to join us and do whatever you want in the team, please ask us and join us. And yeah, today we have Roy Sheinfeld, sorry. He's an entrepreneur. Maybe he can introduce himself, but he's actually the CEO of Breez. Breez is one of the most important company in the Lightning industry. Lightning Network is the answer to, okay, Bitcoin doesn't scale. What's the solution for that? Okay, Lightning is one of the solution. And of course, we want to yes, let's say, talk about that, because it's crucial in the next, it's crucial now, and it will be crucial in next years. And Roy is one of the better person to do that. So please, thank you. And I pass the mic to Roy.
Thank you so much, Gio. I think I know you guys, the BitPoito guys, for 2 years now. Always fun to work together. There's a lot of talent within BitPoito, and we're happy to collaborate and expand our collaboration. We need more talented people in Bitcoin. So the more energy we can harness into Bitcoin, the better Bitcoin is. So please help us make Bitcoin stronger. So I'm Roy Sheinfeld. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Breez. Breez is a Lightning company. We'll explain what Lightning is. Don't worry about it. But I just want to know, for context, how many people here know about Bitcoin? Almost everyone. How many people here hold Bitcoin? Okay. And how many people here know about the Lightning Network? How many people here bought something with Bitcoin? Cool. Thank you. That was helpful. So first, before diving into Bitcoin and Lightning, who am I and what Breez is doing? I'm from Israel, from Tel Aviv. Breez is the second company that I founded. My first company was in a complete different space. It was in the enterprise B2B collaboration space. And in 2018, I started Breez. I've been in Bitcoin since 2013. And the reason I started Breez is because I thought it was very important to help Bitcoin evolve from a store of value to a medium of exchange. And when I say store of value, during that time, during 2017, 2018, there was a very strong negative narrative that what we should do with Bitcoin is only to either mine Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin and hold it forever. And what we think is that Bitcoin should be used as a currency. Bitcoin should be used as a medium of exchange. And we wanted to help Bitcoin do this transformation and the evolution from a store of value to a medium of exchange. I'll explain why it's so difficult to do this transformation and why it's so hard to use Bitcoin as a currency. But that's the reason we started Breez. And Breez essentially is building interfaces to help people, developers, end users use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. We have a wallet, we have a point of sale interface, we act like a Lightning service provider, we'll go into that. And we also have an SDK that allows developer or services company to add Lightning payments into their own software, into their own solutions. Okay. I gave this talk a year ago, so some of the slides are not updated to the latest, but it helps me convey the ideas behind Bitcoin and Lightning. So my apologies that the numbers are not up to date to 2023. But I think it will give you enough context to understand what why we're here and what we're talking about. So who knows how much value was settled on the Bitcoin blockchain in 2022? So in order to make it easier for you, there are 4 options here. The first option, something around 800 billion. The second option is around 8 trillion. The third option, 15 trillion. And the fourth option, around 40 trillion. So take your time to think, and then who thinks that 800 billion was transferred in the Bitcoin blockchain in 2022? Show of hands. No one. 0 for the camera. Okay. B. C. And D. Okay. So the right answer is that there's no right answer. Because in Bitcoin, technically, I don't know if you know how it works, but for every input, there could be multiple outputs. So you can have an artifact called UTXO. UTXO go in and UTXO go out. And there's a concept of it when you move Bitcoin to a specific address, you can have a change address. So we don't actually know how much Bitcoin was transferred, but the number is between C and D. Probably closer to D than C. So think about it for a second. Almost $40 trillion. Okay, so let's be a bit more conservative. Something around $30 trillion was transferred in the Bitcoin blockchain during 2023. During 2022. That means 1 point something around, let's do that, $1 million per second. And that's a nice number. That means that Bitcoin is being moved all the time. Just for context, and just for to compare to other networks, the Fedwire, which is the network that connects U.S. banks in the States, is transferring $4.2 trillion per day. So it's not that far from it's another order of magnitude, but Bitcoin is getting closer to the numbers that Fedwire is transferring. So when we say Bitcoin needs to be used as a medium of exchange, it means that Bitcoin needs to be moved, because basically the intrinsic value of Bitcoin is the ability to move value from point A to point B without the involvement of a third party. If we want the money, the value that is moved inside Fedwire to be transferred to Bitcoin, we need the ability to move Bitcoin. People always ask me, okay, Roy, Lightning Network is great, but who would use Bitcoin as a currency? I have Bitcoins. I don't want to even use my Bitcoin. I don't want to spend my Bitcoin. So what's the response to that? Like, why Bitcoins? Why people even need to use their Bitcoins? Or why people need to spend their Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, as a currency? You need to keep in mind that good money always win over bad money. And if Bitcoin is being choked, if Bitcoin can't be transferred at a certain level, that means that there will be other solutions that will take Bitcoin's place. Essentially, gold used to be, and still at a lot of parts of the world, is being used as store of value. But most of the value is in the world right now isn't being transferred over gold. Gold used to be the standard of the dollar up until the Nixon decision in the 1970s, and then the dollar got separated from the gold value, and the U.S. started printing the invention of a fiat money. That can happen also to Bitcoin, meaning in a very optimistic scenario that Bitcoin is going to replace the gold. Let's say that happens, but if on another layer, on a day-to-day basis, people won't be able to use that Bitcoin, it means there will be an entity that converts the gold or the Bitcoin to some other form of currency that people can transfer among them. Meaning, if Bitcoin isn't used as a bearer asset on the currency level, there will be some other entity that controls our money, and there will be room for inflation, manipulation, if Bitcoin isn't being used as a mean of currency. That's one reason it's very important to use Bitcoin for spending for day-to-day currency. The other reason is that if we want to, I said I'm here in Italy after coming from Madeira. There was a Bitcoin conference in Madeira, and someone told me, I'm never going to spend my Bitcoin. And I told him, okay, so let's go to lunch. And he bought lunch. And he spent his fiat to buy lunch. And I told him, you know that when you just bought your lunch, you actually spent Bitcoin. And he didn't really understand what I was saying. Every time you spend, if we want to live in a Bitcoin standard, if we we want to live in a Bitcoin world. And if you believe that the value of Bitcoin, because its properties gonna rise, every time you spend fiat, it's a missed opportunity for you to buy Bitcoin. Essentially, when we all transfer to Bitcoin and we live on the Bitcoin standard, we will have to spend our Bitcoins. But also now, when you live in a fiat world and you spend fiat money, you actually are missing opportunity to buy Bitcoin. So it doesn't really matter if you're spending your Bitcoin or you're spending your fiat. If you believe in Bitcoin as the currency of the future, and if you believe that the value of Bitcoin gonna rise, you're effectively spending Bitcoins because you should have bought Bitcoin in the first place. I know it's a bit kind of a shift in the mindset to think about it, but think about it and let's have these discussions afterward. At the end of the conference, the guy came to me and kind of told me, now I understand what you were saying. Because if you shift your mindset and think in a Bitcoin way, you start to realize that every time that you spend is a missed opportunity, and there's a huge opportunity cost to every time you spend your fund. There's a saying in Bitcoin, low time preference, or there's a shift in mindset, because whenever you spend, people that are living on the Bitcoin standard, every expense, every spend that they make, they're thinking a lot. It's not easy for them to spend their Bitcoin because they know that the fact that they're spending their Bitcoin, they know that the Bitcoin value is going to rise in the future. And yes, you consume less when you live on a Bitcoin standard. The amount of Bitcoin value settled on a blockchain is only on the rise. And yes, a Bitcoin blockchain transfer a lot of value, but Bitcoin blockchain can only process 7 transactions per second. Let's kind of dig deeper and understand why is that the case? Like why Bitcoin is so fucking slow. Did you hear about the blockchain trilemma? There's a Bitcoin essentially is built on a technology called blockchain. Blockchain is a shared ledger. Basically, it's a public ledger that anyone can run. The ability to run a Bitcoin ledger is called a Bitcoin node. If you run a Bitcoin node in your home, in your server, on your Raspberry Pi or any device, you're accessing and you're processing all the transactions in this public ledger. And the entire invention, the entire technical invention of Bitcoin is the ability to order transactions without a central authority. Meaning there's no single entity that holds the ledger and holds the truth. It's everyone, and the majority of the people that runs the node decides on the truth, on the truth, meaning the right order of transactions. The only feature that the blockchain is trying to solve is ordering transaction. We need order in order to understand which transaction came before other, in order to prevent people from double spending. Meaning, if I have Bitcoin, I don't want to send this Bitcoin twice. I can't. We need to be limited to send the same value twice to different people. So we need to know the truth. We need to block people from double spending the value. And this is done using a blockchain. I don't know if you understand the technology, but in the Bitcoin blockchain, every block is being mined every 10 minutes. if everyone is running a Bitcoin node all over the world, every 10 minutes, there's a new block that is being mined and distributed to the other nodes. Why 10 minutes? Anyone knows? Except from you, Sal? Sorry? A lot of transactions, that's one answer. You need time for? You need time for the distributed consensus between the nodes. Exactly. That's the reason. It's a combination actually between the number of transactions and the ability to distribute the consensus among the nodes. So there's no concept of time, right? What is time? What is computer time? Every computer can have its own time, and when there are a lot of computers running in different places all over the world, they need to sync when there's a new block mined. This block information needs to be disseminated to other blocks in the network, and this process that takes time. It will take more, the more transactions we have on the block, the larger the block size, the more time it will take to distribute the information. That's the reason we need to limit, that's one of the reasons we need to limit the block size. But in order to achieve order, for us to have a consensus around what is the right block, we can't really do that quickly. We need at least 10 minutes. Was the decision of Satoshi Nakamoto, the person that created the Bitcoin blockchain. So it's inherently slow. We can improve the blockchain performance. How? You have that on the screen. Like, there are ways to improve. We can take some compromises. Okay, so when you reduce security, you can increase scalability. When you and security in the regard of proof of work, I don't want to get too technical, but it takes time to work on the proof of work, and we don't want to compromise on the time that it takes to mine a block. It needs to be difficult to mine Bitcoin, but that's one way to reduce to increase scalability. Another way to increase scalability is to compromise on decentralization, meaning not everyone can run a node. Only people with the right software that are really well connected can run a node, and then you also increase scalability. Bitcoin Cash, for example, that's a fork of Bitcoin. They have larger blocks, less nodes that run, and that's why you can have much more transaction in the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. That's not the case in Bitcoin, meaning in Bitcoin, because we want to build a robust, reliable infrastructure that is actually going to be a long-lasting alternative to the fiat system, we can't compromise on decentralization. We want any one of you sitting in this room to have the ability to run a Bitcoin node. We want to continue and promoting Bitcoin as an open, global, neutral, permissionless network. So we can't compromise on decentralization. And we, of course, absolutely mustn't compromise on security. If the system isn't secure, it means that effectively someone else can control the network, can take over the network, and do with the network whatever they want. That means that we're kind of screwed with scalability. Bitcoin can't scale. It can't, by definition, inherently, it can't process more transaction per second. And that's why I think 2015 the Lightning Network white paper came out, and people tried to build a new solution, a novel solution to this problem. And the solution wasn't to fix the problem on the base layer. It was to invent a new layer, layer 2, and to move scalability to the second layer. That's the Lightning Network. In theory, the Lightning, I know it says 40 million transactions per second here. I think there's no inherently any block to increasing scalability in the Lightning Network infinitely. But if you compare the Lightning Network limit to Visa, for example, which is around 25 transactions per second, you understand that we don't need more than a Lightning Network in order to be able to process every transaction in the world. The limitation of Lightning Network are coming from the interaction with the on-chain. We can talk about it later if you want, but I see you're already getting kind of bored, so I'll move on. But Lightning Networks bring scalability to Bitcoin. And the way that it works is actually very interesting. Let's say that we have Alice, Bob, and Carol. So the trick, the magic about the Lightning Network is the fact that not every transaction really needs to be published to the chain. And the way that it works is using an artifact we call a payment channel. Let's say I want to move money between me and Gio. So we open a payment channel. You can think of a payment channel. I don't know if you remember the old Chinese math abacus, like the where you have a wire and you can move beads from one end of the wire to the other end of the wire in order to do calculations. Think about a payment channel as one wire where you can move beads from the one end of the wire to the second end of the wire. So let's say I want to transact with Gio. The first step is to open a payment channel, meaning we're opening a wire. This wire open action is done on the Bitcoin blockchain. We're effectively opening a multi-sig wallet where we both can sign. Gio allocates some Bitcoin to his end of the channel. I allocate some Bitcoins to my end of the channel, and then we can start moving the beads, and each of us holds the Bitcoin transaction, holds a copy of the Bitcoin transactions. If Gio tries to screw me, I will publish the Bitcoin transaction to the chain, and I will take Gio money. And it will happen if I'll try to screw Gio. So the Lightning Network says, if you have this magical artifact called the payment channel, you can do as many transactions as you want without bothering the chain. These internal transactions between Gio and I, they don't need to take, let's not bother the chain with these transactions. Let's just bother the chain when there's a conflict between me and Gio. So the blockchain effectively starts to be the judge between Gio and I, instead of being a public ledger that all the transactions are being sent to. And that's kind of cool. We solved one problem, but it's still not a network. Why is it a Lightning Network? Because if Gio opens a channel with Matteo and they transfer value between them, it also means that I can transfer value to Matteo without opening a channel to Matteo. Why? if I want to move 1 Bitcoin to Matteo, I can move it to Gio move it to Matteo, and effectively I was able to transact with Matteo off the chain without bothering the public ledger and without any compromises, meaning it's an atomic transfer that can be double spent using the Lightning Network. Of course, there are trade-offs. We can talk about the trade-offs, but that's kind of the magic, the secret sauce behind the Lightning Network. And that's what we've been working with since the end of 2017, where I think the first mainnet transaction on the Lightning Network were early 2018. We started Breez in May of 2018. And there was nothing almost when we started. And now this is an actual picture, a snapshot of the Lightning Network. We have, the numbers are different now. I think we have like 25K of Lightning nodes. We have something around 200K channels. What you see here, the blue dots are end users, are nodes that are not routing payments, but are the edges of the network. That means it can be end users, merchants, anyone that wants to send or receive Bitcoin payments. And you can also see the hubs, the large routing nodes that are transferring the value. So it's kind of like the veins and the blood. Bitcoins is the blood that is flowing through the veins. You can see the veins of the Lightning Network, and that's very cool because every one of you can download a Lightning wallet, and I will be able to send them value in Bitcoin instantly in a non-custodial fashion without compromising on security. Lightning Network is growing. You can see some of the stats here. Payment velocity is growing. Apps that are being developed is growing. I'm super excited for the future of Lightning, but the numbers are just constantly increasing. People are building applications on top of the Lightning Network. The possibilities are really endless. Lightning effectively provide that's kind of a snapshot of the number of companies that are involved in the Lightning Network. I think the slides is kind of doubled now. Is doubled now since the picture that I've put here. A tremendous opportunity to everyone in this room to start in a very early industry that is just keeps growing and maybe has a chance to change the world. And why is it going to change the world? Let's talk about kind of the actual topic of this session, why Lightning matters. Everything that we're doing is to empower people, is to create freedom money, is to provide people with the ability to move value from point A to point B without the involvement of a third party, without anyone telling us what to do with our money. What I believe that the best way to kind of send this message and proliferate the adoption of Bitcoin is through technology. We are so bound to our fiat mindset that we take a lot of stuff for granted. For example, why can't I send, let's say I open my TikTok and I see a very cool TikTok video that I kind of learned something from. Why can't I send money to the TikToker that posted the video? Why can't we do that? Like, it sounds trivial, but we can't. And the reason that we can't is because we have a fucked up fiat system that discriminates between people, and money can't be really effectively moved between jurisdictions. I don't know how many of you have tried to do an international transfer. It's so cumbersome and it's so costly that people aren't doing them if they don't absolutely have to do it. So if that's the case in a transaction that is worth thousands of dollars, imagine what would happen if you try to move $1. You can't effectively move $1 from one end of the globe to the other end of the globe. The cost of solutions like MoneyGram or Western Union is something between 20 and 30%. That's the cost of transferring fiat value across the world. And that's crazy. And technology can solve it. But it's not just technology, it's a mindset that people shouldn't block the transfer of value. Essentially, Lightning is a global payment network without restriction. In this slide, the network, you don't know where the Lightning nodes reside. You don't care where the Lightning nodes reside. You don't care and you don't know where the edges reside. You can transfer from all the edges to all the edges. It's a free open network. And that's what we need if we want, let's imagine we want to integrate Lightning into TikTok. Basically what we need every TikToker to run a Lightning node, and then every TikTok users will be able to send every TikToker value easily. Imagine the possibilities of doing something like that. That's global money, 24/7. There's no way that in Lightning, someone will tell you, okay, sorry, we're not working on the weekend. You can't transfer value now. Let's wait for Monday for the bank to open if you want to transfer money. No, Lightning works 24/7. It's global and constantly open. It's relatively cheap. It's not cheap. I don't want to say cheap, but it's relatively cheap compared to the Bitcoin main chain. The fee structure in Lightning means that you take a proportional fee from the transaction itself, unlike the Bitcoin blockchain, because in the Bitcoin blockchain, there's a competition on the space because we understand that the block size is scarce, meaning there's a limited block size. And if I want to transfer value over the Bitcoin main chain, it means that I need to pay a fee, and there's a competition on the limited space of the blockchain. That means that inherently, if there's demand, the fee is always on the rise, and it doesn't really matter what the value of the transaction is. You can transfer billions of dollars in one transaction, and there are people, by the way, moving billions of dollars in one transaction and pay $5. But if there's a demand, then suddenly fees rise, and we already had cases where the fees were $500, $600, and then to move $1 billion, in order to move $1 billion, okay, $600, whatever. But if you try to move $50, and if you try to move $1, it doesn't make sense. It even doesn't make sense to buy a coffee in a €1 worth of coffee and pay €0.5. Let's imagine the fees are very low. It doesn't even make sense to pay €0.5 for a €1 coffee. In Bitcoin, the fee structure is completely different. There's no competition on the blockchain space, so the fees are proportional to to the payment size. Can you think of why do we even need fees in the Lightning Network? If the Lightning Network is distributed network of Lightning nodes that are transferring value, and there's no limited resource here, why are we paying fees in Lightning? Sorry? To prevent spam. That's like every time you try to prevent spam, you need to put some value, but that's not the reason. That's not the inherent reason. There is an inherent reason. Let's imagine there's no spam in the world for a second. Why would you pay a fee? Incentivize the people to run the routing nodes, you mean? Exact. To have a channel, but if they want to, okay, so if I want to, if I'm a user in the Lightning Network and I want to transfer value, I need to open a channel. It's a must. But for a Lightning node, why would I run a Lightning node? Exactly, transaction fees. And that's the reason there are fees in Lightning. We want to incentivize Lightning nodes, these orange hubs here. We want to incentivize them to run. And by run, I mean open channels. That's where you're right. Open channels to other hubs, maintain those channels, maintain liquidity in these channels, and operate as a good citizen in the Lightning Network. And the only way that a network can work, the only way that any system, by the way, can work in the world, any system without good incentives break. Any system any system without good incentives break. Any system with good incentives works. And that's the reason Lightning Network needs fee. It has to be an incentivized network. We have an example, by the way, of a network in computers that isn't really incentivized, and we see it breaks. Anyone has an idea what I'm talking about? Like a good network, maybe you guys are using it. Tor, exactly. We have a Tor network. Everyone can use Tor in order to obfuscate themselves in the internet era, but the Tor network is crap, and it doesn't work, and it's slow, and it's being attacked all the time. Why? Because no one is incentivized to run a Tor node. So incentives are inherent part of the game, but it means that the Lightning Network fees can be proportional to the Lightning transaction, which is amazing. Currently, the fees in the Lightning Network are around 0.1%. So basically, you pay whatever or you receive whatever. When you receive, you don't pay fees. When you send, you pay fees, and the effective fees are 0.1%. And this is really cheap compared to any other payment network in the world. It's seamless, meaning there's no registration. You don't need to provide your mobile phone, your ID, your whatever. Anyone can opt into Lightning Network and start using the Lightning Network. So it maintains the free, permissionless characteristics of Bitcoin. And that also means that if you create an app, if you create software, you can embed Lightning without burdening your users with KYC, AML restrictions. Just let the users move money. So it's very seamless in that regard. Programmatic, for the software engineers that are sitting here, there's a huge potential in integrating Lightning payments into the software that you're writing, because the money is programmatic. You can do with the money whatever you want from a software development standpoint. You don't need to ask the permission of a third-party server or third-party service to interact with your money or your users' money. It's permissionless, meaning it's fast. You're not waiting for approval. You're not waiting for someone else to tell you that moving the value is okay. So it's really, people like to say it's the TCP/IP of money. I think you can even think about it is it's money at the speed of the internet. It's really programmable money that you can embed into internet services, and the money effectively is integral part of the software and the internet protocol. There are many exchanges. There's always a problem with users that say, okay, that's great, Roy. I understand. I want to use Bitcoin, but where do I start? So you, of course, start with what you have, and what you have is fiat money. By the way, the best way to start is by earning Bitcoin. So if you can find a Bitcoin job, it's even ideal. But if you have no option to work in Bitcoin and earn Bitcoin, you need to convert your existing money, your existing fiat money, to Bitcoin. And luckily, there's so many exchanges right now that are supporting Lightning. Since I created this slide, Binance added support, and yesterday or the day before yesterday, Coinbase finally officially announced that they're going to support Lightning. So there's no on-ramp issue to the Lightning Network. A great example, that Cash App in the United States, I think it's the #1 financial app in the States. They onboarded their 51 million users to Lightning. So every Cash App user can send any other Lightning user in the world and can receive money from Lightning directly in Cash App. And it's very easy to use. There's a concept in Lightning called the Lightning address. Every one of you can have an address, a human readable address, exactly like an email address. And just by the use of this address, people can send you money. So Matteo can tell me, okay, Roy, I need $75, please, or let's talk in Bitcoin unit of account. Please send me 20K sats. And he gives me his Lightning address, and then from any Lightning, almost from every Lightning wallet, I can send Matteo 20K sats just by knowing his address. I don't need the bank account. I don't need the bank address. I don't need to send a new entity in the bank in order to transfer Matteo money. And this is global. It's not just, what's your Venmo app in Italy? Well, what app do you use to do Satispay? You don't need to be, and you need to be Italian in order to use it, right? Like I can't get money from you using it. So it's impossible for us to transfer low amount of value. The only way to do it is in cash. So the real alternative to cash, global, permissionless, open alternative to cash, is using the Lightning Network. There's a problem in Bitcoin, though, and with Bitcoin usability, and this is a problem that is mostly people feel it in what we call the global South. People that are using money to survive, and they really need to work in order to fund their next meal. It's a concept that we sometimes having hard time to grasp in the Western world, but But if you visit El Salvador or you visit countries where Nigeria, where people are actually using Bitcoin to send and receive payments because their local currency is broken, there's an inherent problem with Bitcoin because Bitcoin price is volatile, meaning it fluctuates and changes in its USD value. If Bitcoin today is 66K, I think. Yesterday it was 65, and sometimes it can go up and down really. It can be really volatile. And if I'm someone in Nigeria earning $1 a day, and I need and the difference between $1 and 80 cents is huge for me. Volatility is still a problem, and that's why there's an effort to bring what we call stable coins over Lightning. It's not really USDT, but people can transact in the Lightning network while maintaining their sats in fiat value. There are multiple ways to do it, but if you want to give it a try, there's one wallet called Blink. Anyone can download it now, and they have a concept called stable sats. You can take your satoshis and pin it to the current Bitcoin valuation, and next time you want to use your Bitcoins, you can unpin it and use it again. So you can play with you can stable some of your sats, or you can stable your all sats. So I can receive, for example, 20K satoshis in Blink, decide that I'm stabilizing the 20K, so I'm not worried from the Bitcoin volatility. And then it kind of solved the stability issue of Bitcoin. There are other ways to do it. Another way to do it is to bring stable coins to Lightning, meaning actually using USDT over Lightning. There's a project called Taproot Assets from Lightning Labs that is going to launch this year. We're hoping to see USDT being issued in the Lightning Network. Most of the remittance transaction in the world right now is being done using a blockchain called Tron, and people are moving USDT over Tron. Tron is highly centralized and highly censorable, meaning the SEC already started suing Tron. Tron isn't available in the United States, and there's a good chance that Tron is going to collapse soon. So we need something much more decentralized, much more secure than a blockchain like Tron. And Lightning, there's an option that Lightning can provide a solution to this problem. Do you guys are aware of ordinals, inscription, BRC20? Show of hands, who's familiar with it? Okay, you don't want to get rich quick. Like, there's a lot of value being transferred on the Bitcoin blockchain. Basically, the entire altcoin, some people call it cheatcoin play, is to do what we call pump and dump. Have a new coin issued, create some network effect, create some marketing buzz around that coin, pump the coin value to be very high, and then dump it on the next wave of degenerate people that come to buy the shitcoin. So it's kind of a Ponzi scheme that the people that get in early getting rich, and they're dumping their coin on the next wave. It's great, and like Ponzi is part of a free market, and that's perfectly okay. We also saw it coming to Bitcoin recently. People are trying to create new tokens on top of the Bitcoin chain, people brought NFTs to the Bitcoin chain. And these are the names of these projects: Ordinal, Inscriptions, BRC20. The next one is called Runes, RUNES, Runes. If you want to get rich quick, April of 20, Rune is going to launch, and a lot of people are going to get rich very quickly, and a lot of people are going to get fucked by the rich people, the people that are getting early. That's coming April 20. And the sad, I don't know the sad, but the problem is that all of these projects, and there's a lot of value being transferred on top of the Bitcoin main chain right now because of these projects. And they're not trying to transfer value. They're not trying to make payments. They're not trying to use Bitcoin as a mean to transfer value. They're using the blockchain as a way to store information. So if I want to issue an NFT inside the Bitcoin main chain, it can be a very low value transaction. The fees can be very high because I care only about the information that is stored on the chain. They're using the Bitcoin blockchain as a database. And the problem with this project that they are competing with real payment use cases. So when people are trying to send payments and to use Bitcoin as a mean of payment, they're competing with the fees that these projects are trying to encourage. It's a problem, but it's not really a problem, because by the end of the day, Bitcoin is a permissionless network, and anyone is free to use Bitcoin anywhere, any way they want to, and that's okay, because Bitcoin needs to be immune to high fees. Bitcoin, if we think the world is going to shift to Bitcoin as a currency, there's going to be a lot of volume on the Bitcoin mainnet, and then the fees will rise regardless of other projects. So we need to be prepared for a high fee structure. That's why it's very important to work on the Lightning Network and other solutions that will enable Bitcoin to scale to billions of users without worrying about competition on blockchain space. Because competition on blockchain space is inherent to the success of Bitcoin, regardless of what happened. Benefits of Lightning Network to merchants: no credit card fees. Effective credit card fees are varying between 2 and 3%. No payment fraud. It's an instant settlement. You don't need to deal with reimbursement. You don't need to deal with losing merchandise because someone gave you the false credit card information. There's no sensitive data, meaning in Lightning, people are not aware of payers. Meaning I can pay anyone, I can accept money from anyone, and I don't know anything about the identity of the person that is paying me. There are drawbacks to the Lightning Network. I don't want to be kind of oversell Lightning, because Lightning is a work in progress. It's not 100% reliable yet. There are payment failures because of the routing node topology and the amount of liquidity that is locked into the network. Network effect is still in early stages. We saw that today, and you're super knowledgeable about Bitcoin. Half of you knew about the Lightning Network. I think less are effectively using the Lightning Network. There's not a lot of apps relatively integrating with the Lightning Network, and that's a problem. It's Bitcoin only. I'm not sure it's a drawback, but people that are used to move stable coins can't really use the Lightning Network right now. That also kind of stop the Lightning Network from expanding. So what we're doing at Breez in order kind of to help the Lightning Network adoption is we want to provide SDK for developers to make it as easy as is possible for them to integrate Lightning payments into their own solution. So anyone that is developing a mainstream regular application in any domain and think there's a use case for integrating Lightning payment can do so with our SDK. We think, to circulate back to the beginning of this session, we think that the expansion of technology, the expansion of any new idea, the best way to get an idea adopted, and Bitcoin is an idea. The best way to get it adopted is through technology. I always give an example of a digital camera. When the digital camera first came to market, people used it as a replacement for the old film-based camera. So, you had a new digital camera, you took pictures, you took the camera with you on vacations, you took pictures of your children, of your family, etc. But it really didn't change anything in the way that we live our life. Actually, a lot of people still stuck to their old film camera because they had a sense of nostalgia to their old camera. It didn't do much. Like our human behavior didn't change as a result of this new great technology. When did we actually started to enjoy the benefit of the new digital camera? Smartphone. Only when a digital camera was integrated into smartphones, and actually it's not really the smartphone device, it's the applications that it's the iPhone that brought application, the intersection between application and technology, application and smartphone digital camera intersection with application that can use the power of a digital camera. That's when our human behavior completely changed. You can't eat now before taking a picture. Like think about it. Like it's kind of crazy the way human behavior changed as a result of this technology. If you ask me, it's for the good mostly. People laugh about the bad, but I think technology really helps us, and that's exactly the way we want to proliferate the expansion of Bitcoin is through technology. So we need to empower developers that will help us disseminate the idea of Bitcoin. Another example is voice over IP. I just came from Viareggio, where we had a Lightning Summit, and I hosted a panel, and one of the panel, the people participated in the panel, gave the example of a voice over IP. Voice over IP as a technology it's very old relatively to any new technology. It started in the 80s, but it didn't change anything in the world. Then it got adopted by enterprises on the telecommunication company's backend, meaning you used to do international calls without knowing you're actually using a voice over IP in telco communication. Then Skype came out, and retail users, regular users, started using voice over IP in their computers, which was amazing. But now what's happening is that we all use voice over IP all the time through many different apps, WhatsApp, Slack, and other applications. I don't want to go too deep into the SDK, but I do want you to understand the basics of the Lightning Network from an economical standpoint. If there's someone here studying economics, it's a super interesting idea. You basically allocate liquidity as a routing node. What do you want to do? You want to allocate some Bitcoins into your network and generate ROI as a result of your Bitcoin allocation. So you put your Bitcoin to work. The only way to generate Bitcoin out of Bitcoin in a non-custodial fashion is to put it on the Lightning Network. There's no other way. You can mine Bitcoin, but that's, you convert other energy to Bitcoin. You can do that. But the only way to generate Bitcoin out of Bitcoin is by putting your Bitcoin to work in the Lightning Network. You can put your Bitcoin to work in other networks, but there will always be a custodian or a trust risk with, you can give a loan. You can do other stuff to generate Bitcoin, but in this alternative model, there's always a risk. In the Lightning Network, you never will relinquish custody of your funds. So what you're doing effectively in the Lightning Network, you're allocating liquidity in the network, and you're hoping to generate ROI. The ROI is being generated how? If you were paying attention, how the ROI is generated. If I'm a routing node, I'm allocating liquidity to the Lightning Network, meaning I'm opening Lightning channels. How do I generate the ROI, the return on my investment? Collect fees. So in order to collect fees, I need to open channels, I need to allocate liquidity and do a good job as a routing node, meaning there's an incentive. The more liquidity I'll allocate, the better I allocate the liquidity, the more routing fees I generate. So it's a competition between routing node who does a better job in allocating the right liquidity to the right users. You can think about Breez SDK or any Lightning app as entities that generate demand. Every economical model has two sides, demand and supply. So the demand comes from users that are wanting to interact with the Lightning Network, and the supply comes from what we call an LSP, a Lightning Service Provider, that are putting liquidity in the network to accommodate the demand generated by users. We are so early in that process that the opportunity to participate in this economical model is huge. So anyone that is interested, I encourage you to take a deeper look into that. I want to conclude with this slide. This is, I think it's from 1992. Like, it's not very old. From a computer software journal. And this is an FAQ section about the internet. Do I need the internet? That's the question. Probably not. That's the answer. Early 90s. For most people, the internet is no more than a toy, but it's rapidly growing in popularity. And even now, it's a great way to exchange messages long distance cheaply. That's a very nice vision on what the internet can do. I think people have the same idea around Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin, I don't know what it is, digital money, virtual money. Maybe you can transfer value. Maybe you can use your Bitcoin the same way that you can use your fiat. Probably you can't. It was much more reliable to send a letter during this time of this answer than trying to get online and find an ISP. And I don't know how old you're all young. You don't remember when the sounds, when you try to connect to the internet and the modem try to do this sounds. So I'm that old. Like, I connected to the internet in like 56.6K. And yeah, I don't want to even be reminded of these times. Now, what's the internet? Like, even talking about the internet, using the word internet is kind of stupid. everything is internet. We're using the internet all the time on our mobile devices. We can't imagine any functions of our life without this technology. And Bitcoin can bring the same revolution from a technology standpoint. I'm not talking about even sound money, the Bitcoin standard, separation of power, like empowering individuals, separating the state from money. I'm just talking from a technology standpoint. We're at that point that people are saying, if someone will ask, do I need Bitcoin? 99.9% of the population will answer, probably not. There's a chance that some people in this room are in the 0.01%. The opportunity is huge. I really encourage you to learn as much as you can about the technology. If you have any question, if you want to do something in the space, if you're not sure that maybe everything that I'm saying is complete rubbish, bullshit, let me know. Let's talk about it, and let's see how we can make the world better by bringing Bitcoin to people. So feel free to contact me. That's my email address. I'm also very approachable in Twitter and in other platforms. I'm here to help you. There's a typo, by the way, I see. It's ROYS at breez.technology. Never one, but you can ask Gio my contact detail. I'm here to help you. I'm here if you're interested in this space. Let me know what you need, and we'll help you understand and learn better. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roy. It was great. And if someone of you have any question, please ask Roy. Yeah, we have many. Okay. Let's try. Sorry. Yeah, we have there.
So I have limited user experience, but I tried a little bit Lightning wallets, and I don't remember. So when you install it, maybe sometimes you just try. You don't know if it's a wallet, custodial wallet, not custodial wallet. So for instance, I saw that, I don't remember. I recently tried to pay something, and I saw the fees on my end was as a purchaser was quite high. I think I paid 200 sats as a fee. So the difference between traditional payment, fiat payment is traditional payment, the fee is on the merchant, while with Lightning the fee is also on the consumer. How do you see that? So this is a strong disincentive somehow. So it's cool, it's fun. You're using a new tool, but it's a disincentive. We're talking about incentives, and this is a big disincentive. Yes. Yeah, I said it was a bit less than 200 sats. I think, yes. For 15 euros. Yeah, I think, yes. I was looking for the screenshot. It was, I don't remember.
And the problem is that it's denominated in thousands right now. 2,000 sats is how much?
I think it was, I calculated it was, I don't remember.
Point 30 cents. You paid 50 euro.
Yeah,
and the merchant didn't pay anything. So you need to I think, okay, so there's different levels of, I don't think it relates to custodial, non-custodial, but let's talk about it for a second because it's very interesting.
Because, yeah, I understood that
you always as
a higher, yeah, right.
No. That's if you receive the payment, maybe, but if you send the payment, no. So the payment is the same as a custodial payer or as a non-custodial payer. The fee would be the same. The merchant might pay more if it's non-custodial, depends on when did they receive the payment. But let's talk about incentive for a second. You're asking a very good question. So you paid, let's say, 0.3 cents on a 50 euro transaction. And you're saying, as a payer, I'm not paying anything when I'm paying a merchant in fiat. That's basically, do I understand correctly what you're saying?
Maybe just I miscalculated, it was higher. So that's a good point. Maybe I miscalculated my fee and I computed.
But you're okay with 30 cents on 50 euro? That's a reasonable price to
30
pay?
cents? Not sure.
Not sure. Okay.
Because
You know how much you pay when you pay a merchant in fiat? You say, I don't pay anything, but the merchant has 3% of credit.
Yes, I know that.
You think the merchant is paying the credit card cost?
Yes.
You think
Yes,
the merchant
yes,
is paying, is effectively paying?
Yeah, I perceive that as like that.
You perceive it's a perception. I agree. There's a lot of perception issues living in the fiat world. You also think that your 50 euro is the same 50 euro next month. They're not.
Yeah, I know that.
The value of your 50 euro is decreasing. But nevertheless, what effectively is happening is that the merchants are spiking the prices of commodity in order for them to be able to pay the credit card companies the fees. So, and then delegating the fee, they're hiding the fees in the commodity price, in the product price. So using Lightning, having an audience system where the payer is actually paying the fees will lead to the decrease of prices, and an open network where not just Visa and MasterCard and diners, no one except diners can compete. Everyone can compete. Everyone can take a part in routing payment. That will lead to the 0.30%, the 0.30 cents that you talked about, even lower. I think these fees can be lower in a very competitive open market.
Yeah. One quick last comment is that I think I'm very much into the Bitcoin world, and it took 5 minutes to convince me about the convenience of this world. So
Nice.
It's interesting how this will happen towards let's say normal people.
I agree.
Thank you.
Diego, what Diego said is what I called an adoption issue, user experience issue. It's something that we need to solve. I'm not dismissing your comment. Your comment is true. From an economical standpoint, it's not true. Meaning, it's a user experience issue. We are indoctrinated to think in the way the fiat system wants us to think, and that clash is a problem.
Hello, I'm Sebastian.
Hi,
Thank
Sebastian.
you for your talk. First, one thing that maybe if you use some wallets that they say that are Lightning but are not, for example, Moon wallet has very, very high fees, but because it's not.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes.
When
true. There are Lightning wallets that, yeah. Again, I don't want to bash Moon. I'm not sure they tried to complicate the user experience, but in some, from a technical standpoint, in some wallet, when you send a Lightning transaction, you actually send an on-chain transaction. So thank you for your comment, Sebastian.
It could be.
So it depends on the wallet. Yeah. Use the real Lightning wallet. I agree.
I had many questions, but mainly one. And one observation in the exchanges that you listed on one slide, you may take off the rock trading because it failed. It's
already.
Yeah.
Don't put your money on exchange, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
So that's one. I have been very skeptical about Lightning. I recognize everything that you said, but from a technical point of view, I'm skeptical about some things. But the one I want to ask you is about the dust problem. So if I open a channel with you and I put 10,000 sats, 100,000 sats, eventually I would want to consolidate that on chain, right?
No.
I mean, if I
Why?
want to, because I want to close the channel.
Why?
Okay.
Let's talk idea. Let's talk.
Okay.
Let's talk 100 years from now, and then we'll solve your tactical problem.
Okay. I mean, not with you, Breez, or big node or big writing node.
Forget technology for a second. I see you're very deep into the tech, but forget technology. Let's talk concepts for a second. Ideally, every person in the world will have one UTXO. I'm not sure we're in the, give me a second.
Okay.
I'm not sure we're in the step of the evolution that this UTXO is one-to-one with the payment channel, but let's imagine a world, and Lightning kind of shows us the way. I'm not sure Lightning will be the last iteration on this process, but imagine we have a world where every person holds a UTXO, and through this UTXO can transfer value infinitely.
Okay, but
now let's go back to your tactical problem of
you're saying one
channel per user. Let's simplify. Let's say every user has one channel. The channel never closes.
Okay.
Or very, very rarely close.
Okay. So I will change a little bit my question. My question is, let's say that scenario that you're depicting. If I'm knowledgeable and technical, I could rebalance my channels. No.
Why?
Because I want to buy something very big. I don't want to buy the coffee or the pizza or
you're a routing node or an end user?
I'm an end user.
As an end user, you should never rebalance your channel.
And that's the thing I'm saying. If you are an end user and you are opening a channel with someone with some big
okay. Yeah. That you add, that's a technical detail. As an end user, you might not open a channel. Someone else will open a channel to you. And that's a big difference in the user experience.
And that's when you show the triangle. Maybe I'm wrong, but when you show the triangle, one of the edges was decentralization, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm an end user and I'm not having my Lightning node, I'm using someone else's node, right? I'm correct on this?
No.
No.
No. So that Breez, for example, I don't want to oversell Breez, but what we allow end users to run edges in a non-custodial fashion. You use your own node and we open a channel to you.
Okay. Question about that. Maybe I'm wrong and I'm very happy to have this conversation. Don't you have to be uptime? Don't you have to be online in order to keep the channel going?
For what?
For not to be punished. I mean,
okay, so you're asking great questions. This is something that is solved with a technology called the Watchtower. You can delegate the responsibility of being online to another node that keeps an eye on what's going on in the network for you. For example, in the Breez SDK, I don't want to overcomplicate everyone that is sitting here because the technology is complicated. We're running the node on the cloud.
Okay.
The node is running 24/7, but without the keys. Only end users hold the key. So there's a hybrid model where the node is separated from the private keys.
Okay.
Only end users hold the private key, and there's effectively a watchtower 24/7 watching over your payment channels. So you don't need to do anything.
I was not aware of that because,
there's a lot of technological advances in the past few years. I'm happy to kind of drill deeper into the tech, but there's so many things that are popping up all the time to improve the challenges that you're talking about. I don't find something that inherently blocking any user experience right now.
Okay. And if I may, last little question about it is, in the past years, the speech that you are hearing all the day is you could go into Bitcoin DCAing or buying a little bit at once, and you use an exchange for that, right? So at some point you have to consolidate on your wallet while you're buying.
You're asking me if you to use DCA or
No, my question is, in your experience, looking for that future that you're depicting,
in the future you will DCA directly to your Lightning. You don't need to DCA to an on-chain address, so you won't need to consolidate anything.
So, okay, because my question was the right size of an UTXO now could be dust in the future years. How do you consolidate your different UTXOs to avoid having so many dust that you cannot spend, but is an on-chain issue, right?
You won't need to consolidate. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Because
It doesn't mean that that issue doesn't exist. But it has different user experience implications, so we can talk about it later.
Hi. I know we are tight on time, but I make it quick.
I think we have time, right?
Okay, so one thing that is a little ambiguous for me is that one of the fundamental aspects of the blockchain is and has been always the immutability, and that is the trace of every transaction on the blockchain, especially because everyone in the fiat was saying that this can be used for the money laundering. And I think the most important defense is that there is a trace of every transaction. So how does this Lightning affect that traceability? Because if there are transactions happening on the chains that is not consolidated on the blockchain, so no one knows that what has happened.
So you're talking about the feature of Bitcoin to be able to trace every UTXO.
Yeah.
You're asking me as Roy or the
No, it's just
WEF?
No, I don't understand if this is going to take over all the.
You want privacy or you don't want privacy? Another side effect of Lightning is the fact that people outside spectator are not aware of the transactions that are going on.
But we all know that at the end of the day, for example, the security organizations of the countries can trace the address of the wallets. I mean, if they want, they can trace. There are ways to trace people.
Bitcoin wallets?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think
that's their problem. Like, how you're asking me how would they deal with Lightning?
If this technology is going to take over the fiat world, I mean, there are issues. The most important is the money laundering issue. So
what's money laundering? Define money laundering.
Okay, if you want to think that there should be transactions.
It's a Bitcoin ideology kind of conversation, not really related to Lightning, but separation of money and state, I think, is important.
Yes.
When that happens, the definition of money laundering kind of change. I need to understand.
Okay, I don't want to discuss on the ethical.
But
I just want to know that if the Lightning.
Listen, at the end of the day, if this is the right technology, but we don't have separation of money and state, what will happen is that the hubs on the network that you saw will be regulated. And if they are regulated exactly like banks, the states will know everything about everything.
Yeah, but I'm right that, I mean, my understanding is right that not every transaction will be.
When you do a Lightning transaction, there's no trace to it in the chain, but there is trace to this transaction inside the Lightning network. So if nodes are sharing this information,
which is not centralized,
which today
is not centralized
today. But who knows what will happen tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Now we need to build to the future that we want. If we want people, by the way, there are Lightning companies that are working in order to provide information and to help Lightning nodes to be to run as VASPs, as entities that transfer value according to fiat regulation.
Okay, thank you.
Another question? One there.
I have two questions. The first one is, as an node in Lightning Network, I can connect I can open channel as many as channel I want, right?
In the Lightning Network, you can open as many channels as you want to another node.
To another node. So it makes different variants of routes to other nodes. For
Exactly.
example, if I want to send money to my friend, I have many different routes.
Yes.
So doesn't it make a problem if the nodes are the count of nodes are going higher and there are more routes to the?
But that's one factor. That there are many factors of optimizing the route and choosing the route. The routing algorithm is something that can be very simple, very naive, but very complicated. Having multiple nodes between two destinations is a very simple problem to solve, because when you try to send money, you know the state of your channel, so you'll choose the most effective channel, and actually having the ability to send small amount of money through in Lightning, not all the amount needs to go through the same channel, meaning you can split the payment through multiple routing paths. So you can take a very large payment, break it into pieces, and try send it through the most optimized way in the network. And if you do that in parallel, it actually can increase the speed.
Yeah, actually. So if I understand right, in one transaction, if I, for example, want to send 2 Bitcoins to my friends, when the routing starts, it can split into the, many satoshis, and when my friends receive,
He aggregates all the satoshis to this, and he doesn't settle technically it's called settlement. It doesn't settle the payment until they receive all the value of the satoshis.
okay, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a case for you. Other questions, guys? Okay.
I have another user experience issue, which is top-ups. Usually in the payment apps, you keep maybe most of your money in the fiat world. You keep most of your money in your bank account, and regularly you do top-ups in your to your payment app. My experience so far with the Lightning wallets is you have maybe an on-chain wallet, and you do top-ups from time to time to your Lightning wallet.
The on-chain is your saving account, and
Yeah.
Lightning is your checking account, and you want to move from your savings to the checking.
And typically these top-ups are expensive, and they will be more and more as fees goes up. You kind of address it already, the making top-ups directly from something else, but
Yes, that's the answer. The answer is any on-chain interaction will be expensive and will be even more expensive in the future. So your goal as an end user is to minimize your on-chain interaction. That should be your goal. Lightning is a vehicle to help you minimize the on-chain interaction. Now, my question to you, I'm asking, why do you need an on-chain balance on your mobile device?
because I couldn't find a way to do top-ups to my Lightning wallet.
Okay, from where? Where's your money? Fiat money? Like, what's the source of fund? Let's say it's fiat.
Yeah.
I hope that your bank account will be able to send fiat to Lightning directly. There are already banks that support Lightning as an interface. So the hope is to avoid on-chain friction. The less on-chain friction you have, or on-chain interaction you have, the cheaper the transactions are.
Yeah, because they are expensive, and
they will be even much more expensive in the future.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where Bitcoin fees are hundreds of dollars. That's the world that you need to imagine, and try to architect the solution to avoid that. And then you'll find the right tools for the job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have 10 minutes more. So if you have any question. No more question. Okay.
It's not related specifically to Lightning, but in general, before when you said don't keep your money on an exchange, meaning I guess Binance or something like that, where do you recommend keeping our Bitcoins, for example? Hardwares?
It depends on your personality. It depends on your risk profile. It depends on the amount of money. It depends on a lot of factors. But typically, hold your key.
Okay.
You can use a hardware wallet. You can use even a desktop wallet. But I need to understand what do you want to do with your Bitcoins, basically.
For now, just hold.
Hold?
For example, because like I buy, for
Personally,
example,
the money that I hold, I don't hold it even in a hardware wallet. I use a paper wallet.
A paper wallet.
Yeah, you just need your seed. Yeah, you just need to remember your 12 words and then you're okay.
But that's on, for example, MetaMask.
No.
No?
No.
Why
do you need a wallet? You need to generate addresses frequently?
I didn't understand, sorry.
You want to receive money frequently?
No, I just want to, let's say, buy Bitcoin on Binance, for example.
Okay.
But hold it maybe somewhere else, since having it on Binance may not be 100% safe.
Okay. And what I recommend, again, every Bitcoiner, you'll have 2 Bitcoiners in the room, you'll hear 3 opinions.
Okay.
I think you can use the same address. You generate a Bitcoin address once.
Okay.
Just keep sending the Bitcoins from Binance to the same address. The address is protected by paper wallet, meaning you have a mnemonic, 12 words of the access to the Bitcoin. Remember them, or that's another question, how to secure your mnemonics. But let's say you solve that problem, you have your 12 words, meaning you can always access your funds. Just keep sending funds to your Bitcoin address.
Okay.
Why do you need a hardware wallet even?
Because I thought
if you need to spend, then that becomes a different use case where I do recommend using a hardware wallet.
The 12 words, are they related to Binance, for example?
No, the 12 words are related to your private key. There's the way to protect Bitcoin. The wallet is a public address. There is a private key and a public key.
Okay.
Binance are sending to the public key, and you can generate as many public keys as you want from your private key. That's a wallet. That's a Bitcoin address. Binance are sending to the Bitcoin address. You can access the address if you want to access your funds and to create another UTXO to send it to someone else. You need to use your private key. The private key, the way to create the private key, the most convenient way is to use, technically it's called BIP39, and it's a set of words that you can write down, and using these words, you can always recreate your private key.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse for you.
Okay. One question there.
Yeah. Just is not related to the topic of today, but I was curious about the things of stabilizing the value of sats in, for example, USDT for people who need Bitcoin to exchange value, need something that is more stable as a medium of exchange.
Yeah, so the question was what techniques are there to stabilize the value of Bitcoin in a payment channel? Today, what I can recommend you looking at is a wallet called Blink. They use stable sats. Stable sats is effectively they're buying derivative. They're short every time you want to hold Bitcoin in fiat value. They're shorting the Bitcoin. because they're getting your Bitcoins, right? And they need to be protected if the Bitcoin is going down. So the way to protect the company, because they have a Bitcoin value and they give you a USD value, they protect themselves by buying a derivative of a short position on Bitcoin. So every time someone is using a stable sats on Blink is buying a short position on Bitcoin, and that works. That works well. And there are other ways to do it. Is from a technology standpoint, is to actually bring stable coins into Lightning.
Thank you, Roy.
You're welcome.
I would have a question on that, but is this a trustless process, or is any, let's say, who guarantees the funds?
So I'll give you a rule of thumb. Every time there's an interaction with the fiat world, so every time you hear the word USD, there's trust.
Okay, I see.
Hey, what do you think will be the next steps to bring liquidity and user into Lightning Network? And the other question is, are you not afraid about that there may be vested interest on Lightning that could be risk to bringing on-chain Bitcoin on-chain?
That's two great questions. Let's start with the first one. Like, what do we do in order to bring more liquidity into Lightning? Liquidity is a function of usage. So I think the right way to bring liquidity, there are other ways, like people are, you're a marketing guy, but people are can tell whatever story they want. You can sell something that doesn't exist. You can promise a lot of stories. I think the right way to bring liquidity into Lightning is by encouraging Lightning usage, increasing the Lightning traffic. If we're able to increase the traffic in Lightning, that means there's a business opportunity for liquidity allocation, because the function of ROI is a function of the amount of traffic, and liquidity providers will want to use the traffic in the Lightning network in order to generate revenue. So if we increase the traffic, we increase Lightning adoption, more business opportunity, more liquidity providers will enter Lightning. I hope that answers your first question. That at least that's what we're trying to do at Breez. That's the way that we're trying to bring more liquidity. Other companies, for example, are trying to bring stable coins into Lightning because they want to use all the liquidity pools that exist in the crypto world. They want to bring it into Lightning because they think that if they'll bring stable coin to Lightning, the liquidity providers will come to Lightning as well. So that's another way, but that's not the way that I take. The second question was, remind me.
If you think that will be any risk about personal interest and change the Bitcoin on chain?
Yeah. So yes. So that's another great question. Bitcoin on chain is completely different from Bitcoin off chain. Meaning, Bitcoin on chain security profile is different from Bitcoin off chain security profile. Sebastian, right? You mentioned the need to be online 24/7. When you put funds in the Lightning Network right now, maybe not in the future, but currently, you're using a hot wallet. A hot wallet means you are connected to the internet. You're exposed to the internet, and that has a different security profile from a Bitcoin on-chain that you can store in a cold hardware wallet or even in your mind. So definitely understand what you're doing before putting funds into Lightning. But for pocket money, Lightning currently is aimed to replace a leather wallet money, I never heard in the past 5 years of people losing or funds being hacked in the Lightning Network. But there are security implications.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Roy.